Internal threat. Chapter 1. The insider who moved during the holidays. His move has already been read. The summer holidays. The office is empty, but the internal systems are still running. Nightly batch jobs run, overseas branches and on-call staff connect, so the system cannot be stopped. He was at home, sitting before 2 monitors. He connected to the company network remotely through a VPN and a jump server. He never had to sneak into the office. He was one of the most skilled engineers in the company. Tonight he uses stolen credentials, a valid account name, a valid password, and a one-time code for 2-factor authentication. He hides his origin through the jump server and reaches the target server. He does not even need to modify any program. With commands alone, he copies confidential data to his own machine. Then he moves to erase the evidence. Wiping the entire access log would leave an obvious gap, so he deletes only the lines that carry his own trace. This much should be enough, he thought. It is true, most logs are owned by root or the system administrator, with permissions of 600 or 640. Seize the administrator account, and the logs on that server can be erased. An ordinary expert would feel safe here. But the logs were forwarded, the moment they were written, to a place a user account cannot reach. Append-only storage, network traffic records, and cloud trail. These require system administrator privileges. Even if he erases the logs on the server, the operation history recorded outside cannot be erased. With a stolen account and a one-time code, the insider can log in as a legitimate user. Authentication alone cannot tell them apart, but the time of access, the connection, source, the files handled, the order of operations, these he cannot match to the real user. From a vast operation history, quantum principles pinpoint the one suspicious record. Chapter 2. Each employee has a consistent pattern of access. Chapter 2. Each employee has a consistent pattern of access. An insider can log in with valid credentials. Authentication alone cannot tell them from a legitimate user. So what can we use as a clue to find them? The clue is each employee's pattern of access. Miller in accounting opens only the accounting folder from a wired connection inside the office on weekdays between 9 and 6. He opens about 20 files a day. Books in sales opens the customer folder from a VPN while out of the office. His hours cluster in the morning and evening. The time, the source, and the folders differ from person to person. Here the problem is volume. 500 employees, 200 operations each per day, for a year, is 36 million records. Checking them one by one will never keep up. So we use quantum superposition. A single qubit can hold both 0 and 1 at the same time. 20 qubits can represent over 1 million combinations at once. So instead of checking each employee's pattern one at a time, we place every employee's pattern into a single combined state. One calculation handles them all at once. Once the patterns are superposed, we compare them with the actual operations. Chapter 3. Overlay the usual operations, and they cancel out. Chapter 3. Overlay the usual operations, and they cancel out. In the last chapter, we placed every employee's pattern into a single state. Next, we compare the actual operations against that pattern. Waves have one property. Overlay 2 waves of the same shape with peak against trough, and they cancel each other and become flat. This is called interference. The same thing can be done in quantum computation. Operations that match the usual pattern cancel out and vanish. What remains is only the operations that did not match. Take Miller in accounting. Weekday, 10 in the morning. Wired connection. Opening the accounting folder. This matches his usual pattern, so it vanishes. But at 2 in the morning, from an external VPN, opening the personnel folder he has never touched 100 times. This does not match. It is not cancelled, and it remains. Of 36 million operations, most are business as usual. Those are cancelled altogether. Instead of checking one by one, we erase the normal ones in bulk. That is how interference is used. The operations left behind are the ones worth examining. Next, we compare each candidate against colleagues in the same department. Chapter 4. The operation only that one employee does, that no colleague does. Chapter 4. The operation only that one employee does, that no colleague does. In the last chapter, the surviving operations became candidates, but there are still thousands of them. From here, we narrow down. The clue for narrowing is colleagues in the same department. If 10 people in accounting do the same thing on the same day, it is business. At closing time, they all stay late. So being different from one's own usual is not enough. We always check whether colleagues did the same thing. If everyone is doing it, there is no reason to suspect. But if 9 of the 10 in accounting go home on time, and only one opens the personnel folder at 2 in the morning, business cannot explain it. This mechanism, making just one stand out, is amplitude amplification. In quantum computation, each candidate answer is assigned a likelihood of being chosen. Raise the likelihood of the suspicious candidate and lower the others. Repeat this a few times, and the one suspicious record grows far above the rest. One person has surfaced. Next, we look at how operations connect to each other. Chapter 5. Request, approval, output. Records that should come as a set, with one side missing. Chapter 5. Request, approval, output. Records that should come as a set, with one side missing. Company operations follow a fixed procedure. To extract customer data, you first file a request, receive your manager's approval, and only then output the file. So these 3 records always remain as a set. If there is a request, there is an approval, and if there is an approval, there is an output. One side alone normally never remains. Now we check the records. August 13th, one person in accounting. The output record for customer data exists, but the request and approval that should come before it are missing. The linkage is broken. It means the steps were skipped and the data was taken directly. This does not happen in legitimate work. This relationship, moving as a set, is called entanglement in quantum terms. Entangle 2 qubits, and examining one determines the state of the other. We treat request and output as an entangled state. The moment we look at the output record, what the request record should be is determined at the same time. If it is off, we know on the spot. The broken procedure has been found, but the insider goes on to erase the records themselves. Chapter 6. The night he thought he erased everything, a record remained. Chapter 6. The night he thought he erased everything, a record remained. By now, the suspicious operations have been narrowed down, but the insider never intended to leave records. In Chapter 1, he erased the evidence Ed left. What he erased were the logs on a server. From the Apache access log, he deleted only the lines with his own account name and emptied the command history. This is the key point. The logs on the server can be erased. Most are owned by root or the system administrator, with permissions of 600 or 640. Seize the administrator account, and you can rewrite or delete them. But the logs were forwarded the moment they were written to the outside. Append only storage, network traffic records, and cloud trail all require system administrator privileges, and a user account cannot reach them. And there is one more thing. The act of erasing itself leaves a record. A log that had 150 lines at 226 became 80 lines at 241. That gap is the trace of deletion. In quantum computation, examining a state is called observation. Observe it, and what was a superposition settles into a single answer, and a settled record cannot be rewritten afterward. The records remained. All that is left is to pull the one suspicious record from this vast body of records. Chapter 7. The quantum algorithm identifies the insider. Chapter 7. The quantum algorithm identifies the insider. Let us organize the flow so far. We superposed each employee's pattern and interfered it with the actual operations to erase the usual ones. We narrowed down by comparing with colleagues and picked up the broken linkage between request and output. The remaining candidates are 12 out of 36 million. From these 12, we pulled a one true record. Here we use Grover's search. An ordinary search checks 36 million records one by one. At worst, 36 million times. Grover's search finishes in about 6,000. The count drops to the square root of the total. The mechanism is the same as amplitude amplification in Chapter 4. Raise the likelihood of the candidate that meets the condition, and lower those that do not. Repeat, and only the one true record remains. The result: August 13th, 2:11 in the morning. Accounting, employee number E1042, connected from a home VPN. Opened the personnel folder. Output customer data. No request or approval record. 70 log lines deleted. Finally, we output the basis for the decision as plain sentences. Numbers alone will not convince the audit team or the person. We make it readable on the spot, what differs from the usual, and why it was chosen. Authentication can be broken, logs can be erased, but the everyday way of working cannot be faked. The Quantum Anomaly Detection System. Patent pending. JP Application 2026-99639. Eurata Soft Company, Limited.